What up, y'all? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of the Brothers of Legacy. I'm your host, A.D. Walker, the Pusha Di Guro Di Motivata. So, I appreciate you guys for being here. Listen, today we're going to have a great conversation. We're talking about the process. And in this part of the process, we're talking about building community, and what that means and how we need to affect change and some interesting words by the Atlanta Police Department. So that is the conversation today. I appreciate you guys rocking and hanging with us and always being a part. Make sure you are sharing. Make sure you're letting everybody know that the Brothers of Legacy are on. All of my replay peoples, welcome. Again, I appreciate you guys for being here, being a part of all that we do. Make sure you are checking out the podcast as well. If you've missed any episodes, make sure you check out the podcast as well. And that's it. Let's see. Let's do this. Splickety splow. All right. So, just real quick. Let's just sit down. All right. We good. We good. Real quick in crypto news. Just some things I've been learning about crypto and all that it has meant. What's up, Lisa? Good morning. Thank you for sharing, because it's always caring. Um, Appreciate you. Let's see. So I'm sorry, read something, answered that, but shit now. All right. So crypto news. Something I learned, right? Uh-oh, what's that? Kath came in the building. She said, "Wait, Thursday." um, Make sure this is sharing Thursday. Right? Sharing is caring. Thankful Thursday. Make so be mindful. Like crypto. So there's this thing, right? And maybe I should put that as the tag. There's this thing that's happening back in the day with stock. If you've ever watched The Wolf of Wall Street, or why can I think of that movie with Vin Diesel and that other dude in it? It's an older movie. Basically, if you ever heard the term pump and dump, that's what happens a lot in the stock market game. It may still be happening. Generally dealing with like penny stocks and things of that nature. So what happens, a group of investors come together and get other people excited about a particular stock and raise it really high, because of course the original investors have already bought in. So they take their 50% stock all the way to $2. And if you have a lot invested, that could be a lot of money. So what happens? It gets to $2 at the top. Like, okay, I think it's high enough. All the original investors sell, and that stock plummets. So in crypto, this has been happening a lot. That and NFTs, they get excited. It's called pump and dump. So you have a bunch of influencers that get paid to act like they bought into this particular crypto or NFT, and from there, it's called a rug pull. You can Google that, and basically you get fleeced for your money, because then it basically tanks. It basically tanks. And in NFT world, it's even worse, because not only it tanks the link, because when you purchase NFT, you don't necessarily purchase the particular item. You purchase a link that goes to this particular item. And if you're dealing with somebody unscrupulous, they can change where that link goes. What's up, Mama McCory? So I need you guys to be aware of that. It is, crypto is becoming stable as far as like Bitcoin. Still fluctuates a lot, but it's that, and I think Ethereum, those are more trusted sources right now. But just keep watch. I wouldn't throw it away, because it's still a space that something great could come out of it. I would just be mindful. And for those that participate in pump and dumps, you should be ashamed. Real talk. You should be ashamed if you notice why you're pumping them. There's actually groups called pumping dumps. So, good morning, my beautiful wife. Good morning. Good morning. Um, so yeah, don't participate. Don't be a part of the foolishness. I know everyone's trying to make a quick buck, but in the end, some kind of stuff. Am I still here? Hopefully. This broadcast is brought to you by Charter. One slow internet, one issues with your live streams. Sign up for Charter. Thanks. All right, so we're gonna kick this off. I think pass it around a little bit late. Not sure if Kaneem's coming. So it may be just me in the building. I have a lot of questions. So what I need y'all to do, is to share this broadcast, tag somebody, because we're going to talk about community and change. And my amazing assistant in life, my wife, she hooked me up with a news story that I miss. You know, she catches all the stuff I miss. That the APD, Atlanta Police Department, has said something kind of interesting. That we need to dig into, and I know some may not want to hear. All right, so I appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. Make sure you share. I want some live conversation. I appreciate all my replay people because my numbers grow after the broadcast, but I love it live because we can have a back and forth conversation, because Brothers of the Legacy is about changing the world one conversation at a time. All right. Again, thank you for being here. And if you feel like you're always late to the party, make sure you are texting us. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. We definitely appreciate you. We definitely appreciate you being a part and all that we do. All right. So we'll be right back right after this.
I want to welcome you to the Brothers of Legacy broadcast, where we are changing our community one conversation at a time, every day.
We are creating a new legacy.
Change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come, change gon' come.
A co-op has to start with ownership. Right. We have a mindset of either I want to make a lot of money or survive. Make a bunch of money or I got to figure out how to survive.
When you have a real bond, when everyone has, we come in with real expectations. Because this is covenant.
The whole premise is that we as a people, with our money and time, aren't often making this just possible, often vested in the legacy.
You're watching the Brothers of Legacy. We don't stand out. We stand up.
All right. Welcome back. I am sharing. Make sure you do the same. All right. That works. All right. So, again. Oh, nope. No more crypto news. We did that already. Welcome. My podcast people, I appreciate you for rocking and listening to us. And being a part of this conversation as well. Yes, I have a little bit of a conversation before this podcast starts. That's on the live part. It just gives me time to shake off any issues or problems or situations. But I appreciate you guys for being here. Again, podcast folks, if you're listening and you've never seen us live, make sure you text LWN to 84576 and you'll get a notification for the next broadcast. You will get a notification for the next broadcast. Again, that's LWN to 84576. All right, so today we're talking about how to change the worst of our community for the better. Is that with a T? Or the worst? Or the worst of our community for the better? Somebody correct me on that. Listen, our studio's low budget. I got to do it all. so let me know. So, let's put this here. So, again, welcome to the Brothers of Legacy. So, the APB, right, said some time ago, I guess probably within the last 24 hours. When did they say this? April 26th, 2 days ago. Atlanta police said rips parents after 5 teens are shot. And officers say officers cannot raise Atlanta's children. Officers cannot raise Atlanta's children. That's, of course, a story about what happened and all that. And Atlanta PD, with all of with all of us fighting with the Black Lives Matter and the defund police kind of mantra, I'm sure that's just what would you say, a clap back to the response. And how do we in our community begin to raise our children like a village? And I'm not gonna say like back in the day. Only reason I won't say that because times are a little different, and not that people or parents are more sensitive, which they are. We're a little more sensitive to having strangers or people don't really know saying stuff to our children. It's just kind of the way of the world, the way things are, because it's just a little harder to receive that, because the culture has changed so much. I guess between our parents, us growing up, it's kind of changed some. And, the way people handle children is just, we're not universal as much. Some a little harder than others. And we've gotten softer because, some things we needed to get softer on. Let's just keep it 100. So having the conversation when it comes to changing our community and how to help each other's, like, not only take care of your own household as a man, but how to reach outside the household and take care of your community, I think we are kind of lacking. And I get that there is a level of disrespect bigger now towards adults because, I won't say growing up there was none. There was some. There were some kids that just didn't respect a lot of people. Maybe because of their household, just who they are, whatever reason. And I will say that, the only way that our community can begin to change if we find a way to work together. And this is not the typical unity clarion call, but more or less being willing to allow others to have a say when they see your child do something wrong, and teaching our children to try to be more open to listen, and I know that's a sticky situation because, we don't want everybody talking to our children, right? We don't want everyone just saying anything. But how do we get to that space where, we can begin to do something different in our community as far as how we address situations, or, one of the things, of course, that's kind of part of the argument, we'll march and get out in the streets a lot of times for, when there's a cop killing, which is necessary, has to be done because there's an authoritarian organization that we trust to protect, and they abuse their power and do something crazy to someone in our community. There needs to be checkpoints and, not swept under the rug and handled. At the same time, when there are killings, randomly, either gang violence, criminal activity or things of that nature, how do we address that? I there's the no snitching, but for a lot of us, we know, or we've known, I'll say that, at least growing up, who's who in your community. You know who causes what kind of trouble. You know who does what. You know who steals. You know who the ones that can be set off, and the things that they do. Hey, good morning, Deborah. Good morning. And how do we react? Do we say something? Are we trying to check our community so that we can grow and be better? Or are we just, man, I'm just trying to live? You understand what I'm saying? And when I say that, you're like, yeah, I've had the same thought. I'm just trying to take care of my fam. I can't worry about nobody else. And I get it. But with the craziness that's happened, the someone across town and their craziness that you know of, that you're connected to, if there's not a correction done, their craziness can spill into your household. You understand what I'm saying? So when do we begin to hold each other accountable? And never saying that, it's quick to say that somebody's a bad parent. Bad. What's a bad parent? Other than straight up abuse, the nuances of parenting is rough, because we never know the outcome of a particular method of rearing your child is not known until they get older. Granted, some things we know as certain patterns, oh, you just letting that kid do everything, the little cute stuff that the little baby girl does, like, you gonna let that go, it's gonna be a mess when they become a teenager. And we've seen that. we all see it. Like 3 years old, they doing some stuff like that ain't cute. You laugh on the inside, but you're like, that is not cute, because you're gonna have to deal with that later. So we know certain patterns of things. Does that make them a bad parent? Is it bad? And there's certain levels of discipline that we deal with as far as how should we respond to certain things. And, as a parent, discipline takes work, but if you're tired and worn out, sometimes it's hard to be on top of that disciplining. It's just like, man, this is just wearing me out. And in certain essence, the kid wins, or the child wins, because you give up. I'm tired of punishment. I'm tired, and you let the little stuff go, and it becomes bigger when they get older. Is that bad parenting? So what do we do as a community, though? Like, what do we do as a community to be better? What do we do to help the little pookies not become the grown pookies? What do we do to change certain situations? What do we do to help our parents that may be struggling with their children? And I know, and I get it, because I know some are like, man, I try to help. They don't want to hear it. They're so super protective of their child that they don't want any level of discipline coming from anyone but them. Yet there are certain spaces that you can clearly see that they're missing. So it's, what do we do as a community? How do we change the trajectory of kids that we know are headed to a level of trouble? Because it's crazy, because you hear about, the kids, and I've had them on here as far as men, that been through things. Man, I was this way. I was in trouble. I was in and out of jail until I got it, until I figured it out. But how do we mitigate that? How do we stop that pattern of behavior so that they don't have to be such a terror as a kid that they could, potentially hurt or kill somebody in this space? How do we begin to change our community? What do we need to do to change some of the things that are affecting the community around us? Granted, we are learning certain things, but how do we teach others these same techniques? Like, this is, why don't you try this? And a lot of times, you could look at somebody else's child like, well, you telling me this, but look at your child. I'm like, well, they're not running the streets. Like they're not acting crazy. They may struggle in school, but I can't do it all. But they are at least walking a good path. So that's the conversation I want to have today. You guys are quiet. It's okay. At least let me know, like, is there anything we could do? Or do you feel like I can only take care of my own? Real talk. Do you feel like I can only take care of my own? Because a lot of times, we get into that space where that we're not doing, I'm in because I'm checking something. We are doing so much for our fam, and that we're focused on just our family, and that could be enough. And it's like, now I want you to help out the people around you. How do we become a functioning community? And sometimes the community is not a locale. Sometimes the community is just those that you're connected to in ministry or in church. How could you affect? Because that's like your closest kind of family or community that generally most people have. But how do you be effective in that? When you see something, do you say something, or do you just talk about it? You just talk about the kid that's doing such and such. Or do you attempt to try to talk to the parent? And if you've gotten issues or gotten blowback, what do you do? How do you respond? Because like I said, that very child that needs that attention, they could be the one that could potentially be the one that harms your child, and you didn't say anything or you didn't do anything. So today what can we do to change our situation? So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a quick break. I want you to marinate. I'm going to do some sharing, try to tag some folks, get some people in here. Because I don't know, like I'm not ever trying to be popular. I want our community to genuinely change, but it can only change if we have these conversations, these real conversations, these outspoken, in our face conversations, the uncomfortable conversations. All right. So I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna do something I ain't done in a minute. Let's take a quick break. Where's that joke at? Yeah, let's do this. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. This episode is also brought to you by Self. Build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now build credit. All right. Welcome back. All right. It's because my wife sent me something, some interesting information, but it's a lot to read. Oh. All right. Right. So, and now in the state of Georgia, if you're not from Georgia, the gun laws have changed where pretty much anybody can carry a gun without a license. So you can just pretty much get a gun based on my understanding. So now a lot of situations change even more. So we got to be mindful, like, what are the things that you want to see change? Talk back to me. What are the things that you want to see happen in your community? What is it that you want to see upgrade in your community? And, because we like I said, we experience a lot and we see a lot. But what is it that you really want to see? What is it that you've seen too much of? Because for me, the violence is gotten really out of control last couple of years here, Chicago, like living there, like I guess, because living in there, you get more of the local news a lot, of course, because you're there. And like every weekend, it seemed like, and it's been a minute since I've been there, but every weekend it was killings happening. Every weekend. Let's see. Hold on. He said not anyone. Adults over 21, and I would assume non-felons. I think there's still background checks. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Um, so that's a plus. That's a plus. Thank you for that, Samantha. But yeah, it's what. Hey, good morning, Keita. Good morning, Keita. Um, like, what is it that you want to see happen, or do you even are you just like I'm more concerned with about me and mine, and I know that's tough. Like, who wants to really admit that? And that's where I was at for a minute. Like, I was, man, I'm just trying to get mine through. Um, but how do we change the situation? How do we change where we're at? How do we change the stigmatism that's on our community? How do we shift the situations? How do we make things better as far as what our community looks like? You know, I think one of the biggest issues is the way our community looks. Um, what can we do to upgrade our community? Excuse me. What can we do to make things better? Uh, and unfortunately, I had programmed this conversation to talk with my brothers, but let's see. Mine only is great, but yours don't live in this world or go to school alone. Mine only is great, right? But yours don't live in this world or go to school alone, right? Because they gotta interact, they gotta connect, they gotta touch others. Um, so what do we do to mitigate or change situations? And I think some of the struggle is, you know, connecting with other parents. So I'm gonna get got Pastor hanging in the wing. Appreciate him for coming through. All right. Good morning. Happy Thursday to you, my brother.
Happy Thursday, man,
Um,
and
so
everybody else.
yeah, and all the peoples. Um, so we're talking about how to change the worst of our community for the better, um, and connecting. Because I read a quote from APB, no D, Atlanta Police Department, and it was saying how um, we Atlanta Police Department police cannot raise your kids, you know, because this is a quote given after a shooting of 5 kids being killed, and what and so my question today or my conversation today is how do we change or at least begin to turn things around in our community, you know, and I feel like there's been violence in our community for a long time. I don't know if it's ramped up more just because of the speed of social media. We're hearing about it more. You know, I always question that sometimes. Like, you know, you get a lot of information. It's like, is it worse, or it's just we're finding out about all of it? You know, let's see. Yeah, it's a very long statement. Just saying one part of it. Yeah, small part of it. Indeed, I'll dig more into it. But I kind of wanted to just kick off the conversation, and just kind of get your take, Pastor. I mean, you've grown up, you know, in several different kinds of neighborhoods, and what has the most neighborhoods like, or the neighborhoods that you grew up in, what was the community like? Were they connected, or did you feel like they were kind of separated? You know, did you grow up in the neighbor telling on you, you know, like, or even scolding or not almost say condemning, but you know, scolding or disciplining you in any way? And how did your mom feel about some of that?
Where I grew up in Kankakee, Illinois, where I
Okay.
spent all of my childhood
Okay.
from Pampers through high school. And I mean, from probably the third grade through high school,
Right.
I was basically on the same street.
Okay. Third grade to high school. Okay.
Yeah, I could walk from my third grade house to my senior in high school house
Right.
within 10 minutes.
Right.
And I grew up in a neighborhood or on a street that really was connected. I knew, my block, my portion of Merchant Street was probably close to a quarter of a mile long, my
Okay.
street, my
Okay.
block from one end to the next. And I knew 90% of the people.
Right.
There might have been a couple of houses that I didn't know who lived in there. I knew I recognized them, but I didn't know them by name or had a
Okay.
conversation with them. And there were a lot of children, a lot of young people
Okay.
on our street. Uh, we were also within a 10-minute walk to the middle school or junior high school.
Okay.
Okay, elementary school and middle school or slash junior high school. We knew everybody, and yes, adults had the power and the authority to check children.
Okay.
You knew who
Hmm.
was good, you knew who was in trouble, you knew
Right.
who had money, you knew who struggled, you knew everything. I mean, you literally could go next door and get a couple of eggs or get some sugar, go across the street,
Right.
you know. Um, so yeah, I would say that was very close knit. And I'm saying, and if you stretch that
Hmm.
from our street into the broader community, and I'm talking about children who lived across town, you played sports with them, but they didn't live on your block.
Right.
I grew up in an era where, you had the west side and the east side. You had the north side and the south side. Uh, and there was great competition amongst the young people,
Gotcha.
right? So if you went, like we had a Westview High School and East Ridge High School that were
Right.
rivals.
Right.
We had East Side Bulldogs and Azzarelli in junior sports, junior football.
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
And then you had the public school versus the private school
That's cool. Right.
in
Right. Right.
sports. So you had all of that, but then you also had Latin Kings,
Right.
you had Gangster Disciples,
Right.
you had Vice Lords,
Right.
right?
Right.
So you had a combination of all of that.
Gotcha.
But we had a very strong Parks and Recreation
Okay.
that had organized sports,
Okay.
and annual events at our Pioneer Park, the local park,
Right.
and we had about 4 parks that were pretty prominent growing up. So there was
Okay.
always something to do. We had
Right.
a very active YMCA. We had a very
Okay.
active CYO,
Wow.
community youth organization,
Right.
with sports and all that. We were very active in, Cub Scouts, We
Right.
Below, Boy Scouts, all of that, the Brownies and Girl Scouts, all of that, all those programs were highly active in our city. So there was a lot to do,
Gotcha.
and there was a lot of accountability. We
Gotcha.
knew our council people, we knew
Right.
our aldermen, we knew those people.
Right.
One person I don't remember knowing was our mayor.
Gotcha.
And so these people were very active in the community. So I would say that, coming up in the I would say the late 70s and the 80s,
Right.
you really couldn't. People were in check. We knew the chief of police,
Right.
uh, because they were out there. They were always
Right.
around. So
Right.
you couldn't get away with a lot. And for that reason, we all knew where the trouble was. And
Right.
you couldn't get away.
Right.
You didn't get in trouble for telling them folks because everybody knew probably who did it.
Who did it? Right. Right. Right.
We had
Right.
families. We had families that stayed in trouble.
Right.
We had crews that stayed in trouble. You just knew who was who.
Right. Right.
So for me, you couldn't really get away with a lot. So we didn't have a problem with interaction with law enforcement and the community, even though racism was there, but for the most part, in our zip code 60901,
Right.
there was probably $30,000 a year that separated the top from the bottom
Wow.
economically. So if you lived in Kankakee,
Yeah.
we using the same family, whether you were
Right.
white, black, purple, or green, it just didn't really matter.
Wow.
Wasn't a whole lot of bragging. You might have got the Jordans first.
Right. 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 Right.
Yeah.
Something a little bit out of reach.
Yeah,
It wasn't a big difference. Right.
Yeah.
You had better hubcaps. You had them them shiny hubcaps. Right.
Yeah. But you didn't buy them brand new.
Right. Right. I feel you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I was getting to more of the article. It says APD wants to know, where is the Save the Juveniles Calvary? Where are all the voices who care so much about broken kids and community safety? Where are the concerned parents and family members while these kids are running the streets late into the night? The police department wrote. So, like, are we out there enough? Are we watching enough? And they were kind of saying she said, I've been questioning that too. Is this new, or are they just overemphasizing? Like, is it?
It's an evolution.
Yeah.
Things began to change when you started shutting down community organizations.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
you
mean,
can't deny how many
yeah, let's go.
in your neighborhood. What's the
Right.
community organization in your neighborhood? Where does everybody flock to?
We got parks.
Right.
They're just random, and they're random. They're not like
What are your children engaged in?
us.
Thank you. Okay. Please, somebody tell me that you have a strong parks and recreation and your children are actually active.
Right.
Anybody on here got children that are Cub Scouts?
Right.
Anybody on here got girls that are in Girl Scouts? They're
Right,
connected to
right.
the YMCA, YWCA,
Right.
some youth
Girls and Boys
organization.
Club.
And I'm not talking about that basketball league. What's it called?
PAL? No.
No. AAU.
Okay. Right.
I'm not talking about AAU sports.
Right.
I'm saying your local park and recreation. Do you know the local Cub Scout den leader? Girl Scout den leader?
What happened to those? Like,
Right.
because somewhere between
What summer program, do your children go to day camp?
right.
Like we went to day camp. Like we packed a lunch in the morning in the summertime, went to the Y and jumped on a bus. We went out to the state park and were busy all day. Came home at like 5:30, 6 o'clock at the end of the day, dog tired.
Right. But
Just in time enough to eat dinner, take a bath, and sit out on the porch and catch lightning bugs.
everything has a higher cost. Like everything.
Yeah.
Cause like, I had kids, we had kids, and I'm like, and I started looking for this stuff, and I'm like, why is this $200 a week? Like,
Yeah, but
where's
let me share this with you. Here's the thing.
ahead.
You talk about a higher cost,
Right.
which means you got to pay counselors to be on site.
Right, I'm with you.
And
I'm not saying it
typically-
should be,
But typically you would have 2 adults and probably 4 senior teens,
okay.
17, 18, 19.
Right.
And you pay them back then minimum wage,
Right.
right? And
right.
they were doing all the things they loved to do
$4.50.
anyway.
Right.
Right, because you were swimming,
right,
fishing, playing
Right.
ball, kickball. You were doing things that were fun for them anyway.
right,
And they were the oldest, so they loved being in charge.
right.
So
Right.
there was not a high cost. And the most expensive thing was probably the kickball,
right,
right?
right.
Volleyball net, volleyball, kickball. All you needed was an open field and creativity. Sack races, scavenger hunts. I'm saying, you light a fire and roast marshmallows. We used to have this little contraption where you put jelly between 2 pieces of bread and you clamp it down in this contraption. It will automatically cut the crust off. You close it up and lay it over a fire, and you are essentially baking a pie, a jelly pie.
Right.
And at 5 to 7 years old, that was genius.
Right.
S'mores was genius. You mean with a graham cracker, a marshmallow, and a piece of chocolate, I could create a whole dessert.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, again, life was really, really simple.
Right.
But what made it great was the creativity and the energy that you got from the leaders.
Right.
because they really got into it.
Yeah.
You know, who's the fastest runner? Let's
Right.
line 8 people up. So if somebody lost the race, they weren't the only one that lost.
Right. Right. Right.
It's that kind of stuff. We
Yeah.
have lost sight of that kind of stuff. And so, like, my thing is, we say that stuff is expensive, but it ain't. We just reprioritize where our money goes.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
Tell me,
I don't know.
where
if
did
I
the
agree with
budget
that.
go for that? It went
I mean,
somewhere. The
I
budget
guess
went
so.
somewhere, bro.
I mean, hey, what's up, Michael? I guess it has. Hey, good morning, Cheryl. Look at that.
Morning.
Everybody come to the building. I had to get past it here for y'all to come. No, I'm just- it's like
Right back,
church.
bro.
Pastor ain't here. Y'all don't come. No, I'm just playing. But I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys for rocking with us. But I think I'm sure you can hear me a little bit. But I think I understand what it's saying, like the reallocation of funds. But I feel like stuff is going up. Or is it me? Like some of these programs are just more than I thought. You know, like per child. And I get inflation. But I swear like there were some things that didn't cost as much, you know, or were covered or something. Is it just me? Because, you know, my children were born 2007, you know, between 2007 2008, you know, like, so it's a different time frame. And my question to you guys as well is, if you've had kids, you know, what were the cost of the programs you got in? Did you feel like they were on budget? Were they high? Were they free? And what was your situation that you're willing to share, of course? But I don't know. Like maybe it is me. Maybe the allocation of money between a higher cell phone bill and cable and all that has eaten up sending my kids to these programs. Let's see. Everything is going up, but I feel some of it is COVID greed, aka the perfect excuse. But even pre-COVID, Cheryl.
Pre-COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID. Let's talk pre-COVID because I
You're
know.
right. You're right, Cheryl. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to talk about pre-COVID because we're talking about a deterioration of community over the last 35, 40 years.
Right. Right. And so let me throw this out there while everyone's thinking and chewing on it. I'm really trying to develop a local program in like different counties. And, you know, I got these grand ideas that I'm working towards, and I got some great people around me that we're going to make this thing come to pass. I'm trying to fill in this gap. Like, what's our gap between programs and people? Because sometimes, like, you hear about stuff because sometimes you catch it on Facebook. You know, I think it's marketing sometimes. You know, we don't know they're out there. You know, you ever found something like, man, we've been here the last 5 years.
Right.
Like, right here? Like, how did I miss this? You know, like, or you see a program, you're like, oh, this thing costs. You go and talk to them. Oh, no, this is free. You're like, what? Like, oh, yeah, we on Facebook, but you don't get it either because they don't advertise, which is fine because if you're free, your budget is little to none. You know, I don't really have a budget unless it's come out of my pocket, you know, which I get. You know, like I put out signs or flyers, but if I'm not in that direct area, I'm not going to know about it. So my goal as Brothers of Legacy, I'm trying to be that source to get all community information, be the hub to get what you need so that your family doesn't have to go without. And starting with education with your kids and something to do, because a lot of times and Paz, I'm sure, can attest, you know, you get kids, and you can probably attest as for your own self, kids get into issues and trouble because they got nothing to do. You know, like
Right.
they don't have nothing to get their hands on, something to keep them busy. And I've said this before, like hip hop kept me out of trouble, you know, or kept me from being just hanging out for like, was it maybe like 3 years, 3 critical, like between 16 and 18. Like we spent all summer just going to the studio, and I learned how to create beats and samples. And it was me and 2 of my friends. We were there like clockwork. We would go in during the summer. We would go in at about 9. We wouldn't come out. We would break for lunch about 1. You know, whenever we got hungry, we would go back And we would probably leave there probably like 7, like real talk. And no, none of that stuff you can find on Apple Music. Like we didn't produce. I don't think we ever released a thing, but it kept
But it
us
was
busy.
genius, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it just
Y'all put together some genius material.
right. It kept us engaged. I don't know what that is. He said,
And back to
mumble rap.
Cheryl.
Listen,
Cheryl put a.
oh, let
I
me
was going
see.
to go back to Cheryl. She said late to the game. It's not. It's not so much about being late to the game, Cheryl. My question would be, what are the ages of your children?
Right.
Right. When is the last time you actually had to take interest or you had curiosity about community organizations?
Right.
That's the question. So it's not that you're late. It's just that if we're not targeting that, if we're not in that space or in that season of life,
Right.
we don't have an interest in things like that. So it really depends on where your children are, right? And
Right.
whether or not you are, like, for example, I have been deeply engaged in this stuff just because of working with non-for-profits and all of that over the last 35 years.
Right.
So that's why I've been able to track this stuff, because it's
Right.
always been about community economic development, empowerment of our own communities.
Right.
That's what it has been for me. So sometimes we're not in the know because that's just not the vein that we're operating in our lives. And for those people who have children that have been dedicated to something, they don't see a gap.
Right.
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 So I just wanted to insert that because
Yeah.
I was going to tell Cheryl, there's no need for an apology.
Yeah.
Because if you're not in that area, if you're not in that vein, if
Right.
you're not seeking out these things, you won't know that there's such a void.
Right. Like between what was I, like adultish, like 98 to 2007. I didn't know I didn't realize the things that disappeared from my community.
Yeah.
Like till you have kids like, hey, not there no more.
Right.
Not there no more. This program ain't around. What happened?
Right.
Now you're googling like, what happened to the program? Like so. There was a gap.
Versus
and
people
Mike
like
said-
me who have literally been raising children for the last 34 years.
Right. They got a chance like this the last day? Like what you mean you out of funding?
Yeah.
So you kind of got to see certain things shift or certain things change. Like, yeah, they stopped doing that 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exist anymore. You're like, what? So it is so it's that, like I said, yeah, you won't know unless you have the kids and you're looking for the program. And I think my goal, like I said, is to try to fill in that gap so people that need can at least have a space to see where things are available. Because I only think and it's like Google in a sense. Even when you go to school, sometimes the things that rise to the top are the people that have like the higher cost programs because they can advertise. They can be in your face. Like, hey, I got this thing. And the people that are offering it for a more reasonable price, their budget is smaller, so they can't broadcast it. So listen, my first challenge to everybody out there, and I thought about when Pastor said you're late in the game, but you might see something. So if you see something in your community that says, hey, free program, reduced program, or whatever, take a picture, put it on Facebook. Like, I don't know who this might be for, but you can use it. Go ahead.
Gary Davis, Next Level Boys Academy.
Right. Yes.
NextLevelBoysAcademy.com. Gary Davis.
Yes. Gary Davis.
Started out with probably 3 or 4 boys, maybe 10 years ago, and is now recognized nationally for movement within our community,
Right.
giving our young boys a place to go and keeping them out of trouble, literally targeting boys that have been getting in trouble and giving them something to do. In fact, our church partners with Gary Davis and Next Level Boys Academy. When we go looking for opportunities to be a blessing to communities, we get leftovers from Gary Davis and Next Level Boys Academy, Christmas, Toys for Tots or Angel Tree Ministry, that kind of stuff. He gets all these donations in. He gives all that stuff out and then we get a lot of the stuff that's left over from him that he can't give out because he can't. I mean, that's how popular he has become. He
Right.
gets an overwhelming amount of support from people, so he's doing great things. Oh, there you go. Sean Rollins went through. Yeah,
Went through the program, but making it clear, not for trouble though.
Yeah, not for trouble, right? But and it's not designed for troubled youth.
Right,
It's
right.
designed as a place for youth to go and do something productive, right?
Right.
But what Gary Davis saw was a void in the community,
Right. Right.
and he saw boys getting in trouble, and he said, "Hey, man, I can't just sit idly
where it
by and
started.
watch
Right,
this.
right, right.
I got to go do something."
Yeah.
So he established Next Level Boys Academy.
Yeah.
And he's been every politician from here to Washington D.C. that's community related has wanted to know and understand his vision. So it's people like that make a real difference.
Right. And it's so funny that you said that Rollins about he in a program that's he's not in it because he was in trouble, but it just was an available program that was necessary. I was thinking about like when I was in high school, and it's funny, like there was a program in the school. First time I ever heard of him or the program. We'll talk about it. So it's because Pastor mentioned before. I looked it up. I forgot why, but anyway, we'll talk about it. What threw me off track with it?
They're trying to put folks on blast.
I,
We got toys from them.
was that okay? We'll get into that. But yeah, like a program that was in my high school when I was in high school, and I assumed that it was like for troubled teen or something like that, and found out way later that it was just open for everybody. I just assumed and never approached it. So it's knowing that knowing what's around you. And like I said, anybody you see something like Pastor just shared, and I'm gonna dig further into that because I know we mentioned it way back. I went over my head, but so like you get information. If you see something, post it, take pictures. See, I didn't see. I wouldn't. I want to point out, Pastor. Did I say she was in the program?
In what program?
I was I was mentioning the program called Star, and I told her, I was like, I thought it was just for folks that had trouble or something going on or whatever, because I know some of the guys that were in there, but
So troublemaking Samantha was in that program. Not surprising.
So listen, my challenge to you guys. Oh man, this time is flown. My challenge is, if you see something, say something, but take a picture, put it online, post it up. Even if you see it, send it to me, and I'll do a blast on it. Any program in your area, whether it be local, it may just be local, it may be national, because they may have different chapters throughout the country, and people just may be like 2 towns away because something happened in McDonough right now. I'm not going to really I'm not going to see, and you like McDonough. So I'll just say something like 10 miles away, maybe, I may not see, but, a post or something may give me an opportunity to connect with it. So if you see something, if you see a program, if you know a program, put it up. Like I said, you could inbox me, inbox Pastor. I'll even post it on our Facebook page and other pages, and we might even have a conversation. You might have a whole show about all the programs available that we know that are national, local, and stuff like that. And I'm definitely, I think I tried to email him at one point. So I'm going to try to connect with him, have him on and talk about a lot of programs that are out there that we may not be privy to, or, not even privy to, but just may not be seeing, because this stuff and tell me it's happened to you before. You're like, oh man, how did I miss that? Oh man, how did I not know, and even with social media, you think you would get more things, but sometimes because of the algorithm, stuff that you always like or into, Facebook like, nah, you're not interested in that. Here's another fight. Right? Here's another angle of Will Smith smacking Chris, because that's what you like that post before. So it just, get in that space. So like I said, again, take pictures, let us know, show it, and we can talk about it. Appreciate you, Mama Corey. Appreciate you guys for being here. Appreciate you rocking. Make sure you share this conversation. Like I said, Brothers of Legacy is trying to be that gap. What's that? Oh, Shake the Fear. Shake the Fear.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Kankakee, Illinois.
Kankakee, Illinois. If you're around that area, get with that gentleman.
Check out Kent Library Wade.
Right, and I'm guessing Kankakee only may have one library.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Listen, Stockbridge only got one.
Yeah, but Stockbridge, but McDonough has one.
Yeah.
Locust
so
Grove
Kankakee, because I think that's the library he's in a lot. I don't know if he works directly, but he always doing programs in there. If you follow his page, you'll see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he works for the Kankakee Library and is doing some great stuff in Kankakee.
So if you're in Illinois and you're in that area and can get there, definitely check out Kent Wade. He's doing some amazing work. All right. I appreciate you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys for being a part. I appreciate you guys for sharing. Like I said, we are taking the national, connecting it local. That's our goal. We're trying to fill in the gaps to make sure that everyone gets taken care of and change our communities. Because like I said, if we can get our children involved and get their hands on stuff, then we can make things move. All right. So I appreciate you. Make sure you hang out with us tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Always know that we love you. God loves you more. Continue to watch. Be mindful. And stay connected to us. Text LW into 84576. Text LW into 84576. And never miss a broadcast. All right. So as always, be blessed. Keep pushing. Keep growing. And keep doing the right thing. All right. We will see you in the AM. Take care. As always, we love you. Know that God loves you more. Stay safe. Thank you guys for hanging. Make sure to sharing is caring. All of my replay peoples that watch in the back.